What if I told you that your server doesn't need a database to know who you are? No session table, no Redis, no memory store, nothing. Just a single string that contains everything the server needs to authenticate you. That's the magic JWT JSON Web Token. In this video, you will learn exactly how JWT works under the hood, why it is called stateless authentication, how it validates token from Auth0, Firebase and other provider, and the RS256 algorithm and why it matters. So first section we are covering, first thing is three parts of JWT: header, payload and a signature. Header contains this thing, algorithm type and key ID. Payload contains the data. You can encode some data inside your JWT token, and this is the signature using which it is created, right? So base 64, it's readable. The user data, you can decode it. Signature proves the token has been tampered or not. And the expiry, obviously we need to have some kind of a token expiry so that we can have a limited liveness of the token. Overall JWT token looks like a random string. The algorithm which we are using, random string which has three different parts. The header, this is important part. Algorithm is RS256 or HS256. The type is always JWT, and the key ID is the key ID. Part 2 is the payload, where the purple part. This contains the actual user data. You can encode the user ID, org ID, email, whatever the information which API needs after validating the token. Signature, the blue part, this is the security layer. The server creates this by taking the header and payload and signing them with the secret key. This signature proves the token has not been tampered with. So this signature. So you might have remember JWT, JSON Web Token, JWT.sign, JWT.verify, these methods in Node.js. So this is my sample JWT token. I can paste my one also. Algorithm type, this is the payload, decoded payload, and this is the secret. The earlier one also looks like this. This is the payload which we have. Okay, anyone can decode this payload. And header and payload are just base64. Critical point, never put sensitive data like password, all these information inside the decoded payload. The information which we should put is just identifier, user identifier or org ID, email, that's it. Okay, not more than that. Now the thing is, JWT is called a stateless or a stateful. Let's discuss about that. You might have heard this term stateful and a stateless authentication. The key difference is, inside a stateful, server stores the session in the DB Redis. Every request you need to look up inside a database to validate, okay, this session exists in database. Hard to scale horizontally. The sessions in the distributed manner, you need to have a Redis cluster so that all the instance can access the Redis instance. Easy to invalidate, that's a good thing, that if you are managing sessions using Redis and database, it's easy to invalidate all the login sessions of that user. Stateless, JWT, which doesn't store anything on the server, token contains all the user data you need, easy to scale horizontally. But it is hard to invalidate or kill the token which has been created, right? So scaling comparison, if you want to scale the session based, stateful need a shared store, right? Like the Redis or the database, where if your application is across multiple lambdas, multiple instances, then you need a centralized cluster. Versus stateless, you don't need, because they have the secret key, they can verify, they can create the token. So that is the big advantage of a stateful and a stateless authentication. And token based is a stateless token based authentication. The only part is which is little difficult in the token based authentication is hard to invalidate the token on the logout. So what actually happens in the token based authentication? You log in, you receive a JWT token. Now you just send the JWT token in the API request, JWT in the authorization header, and server sends you the data back. So it is just simple. You just send a token. Token is not stored anywhere on the server. It just validated. That's why it is called a stateless authentication, because we are not storing the state of the token anywhere on the server. So this is how simple login flow looks like. What we have is Auth login API, where we are passing email password. It will reach to the server. Server will check the user exists, and it will return a JWT token. So how we are returning JWT token? Using JWT.sign. So it's like a process end, then you return the access token to the customer, to the client who is accessing the API, right? So first phase is send the login request, validate credential, create a JWT token using JSON Web Token module, JWT.sign. This is the payload which you are encoding inside a token. You also need to pass a secret key to create a token and the expiry. So these are the three arguments. Even if Auth0, Firebase create a JWT token, they also have the same thing. The body, the secret key using which they are creating token, and the expiry. Now the request validation is you start accessing the private APIs when you have token. So you will send authorization header. Your middleware will extract the authorization header. It will verify using JWT.verify. The same server has the secret key. Using same secret key, I will try to verify the token. If token is verified, the claims are verified, I will be allowing you to access the data. So this is the pure stateless. I don't need to worry about storing the session at the server side. If token is coming, token is valid, I will enrich this request session with the user information, and I should be able to fetch the information for the user. So now the next thing we will talk about is this diagram. So let's see here, this is the client and this is the server. We will look up into the database and we will return the token, right? So this is a simple login. We will store the token and we will send it to the server side. I mean, here JWT token, we are saying stateless. That means we don't need to store it anywhere. But when you talk about refresh token, access token, and you want to provide a feature of refresh token, then maybe you need to store some metadata. Based on that, you can regenerate the access token every time. Now the client will send a request with the token. We will verify the token. There is no database call, right? Because we are validating only token. And if token is valid, we get the user ID. We will just start accessing the data based on that user ID. So this is fast. This is the end-to-end JWT token flow. Now the important point is not every time you are creating token by yourself. Because if you are using external provider like AWS, Cognito, Auth0, Firebase, or any other provider which is taking care of your authentication, like user management is provided by Okta, Auth0, Keycloak, or any other platform, then you don't need to worry about creating token. But you are also writing your own custom APIs. Those APIs users should be able to access only when you are providing a valid token. So how those external API, your APIs will be able to validate a Auth0 token which you haven't created, the Firebase token which you have no control, but there is a way to validate it. If I'm creating token, I'm building the user authentication in my microservice, Auth microservice, where I'm allowing user to log in, create a token, send a token to the client is coming back with the token, then obviously I can do the JWT.sign to create a token, JWT.verify to verify the token, or I will use just a NestJS passport, JWT, JSON Web Token, all these libraries combined together. They will be able to do it. But when we are doing external provider like Auth0, Firebase, AWS Cognito, and Keycloak, how can we validate the token coming from these external parties? Let's say you integrate Auth0 tomorrow. Auth0 will allow you to log in. It will give the token to your front-end application, and then front-end will send the token to your NestJS API or Express API, TypeScript API. How that API can validate the token, right? There should be a way. So that is done by JWKS endpoint. This is the endpoint where Auth0, Keycloak, all these external parties provide the public keys. This is similar to like if your Auth0 tenant.auth0.com, it's like common. You just need to replace your tenant name here, like example.auth0.com. Similarly for the Firebase, Cognito, and for Keycloak, right? Now this is the step one. That okay, you got a token. Now how to validate a token? This is the first primary key, public key, which this URL will help you. Now if this URL is there, then it is very easy. JWKS validation is very easy. What happens is these external parties exposes the public keys. Okay, when you hit this URL, you will get the response something like this: keys, key ID, use, and all. So validation scope, what we will do, we will try to extract the key ID from this JWKS URL, and then for that KID, this is how you will request the JWKS endpoint, search the JWKS response for the key that is matching with your ID. You will get the token, and then JWT.verify, you will pass the public key. So here we are not passing the secret. We are just trying to verify if this token is valid, and for that verification you just need a public key, right, which you can get from their JWKS endpoint. If this is fine, that means, and you can check the issuer, if both are validating, expiry is greater than now, okay, you can still use this token and access the APIs. So how all these things combine together and happens with the NestJS? When you are building Auth service without the third party like Auth0, then it's easy. What I do is, here instead of this, I just provide a secret or key provider, right? You might have seen this code here. If you are actually validating the Auth0 token from the external provider, then you will use this library JWKS RSA. Here you can see the role of it, JWKS RSA JWT secret. Here we are providing a JWKS URI. That is very important point, how we verify it. Let me zoom it a little bit so you can see. This is very important. Here we are providing a JWKS URI from Auth0, Firebase, Cognito, your issuer, tenant name, audience if you are using it, algorithm. Rest all the logic will be same how you have written JWT strategy for your local authentication. Now let me show you the simple code to explain you how this really works. So this is the one way, or you can write a custom middleware and do all those things together. But JWT strategy, the passport-jwt provide a simple wrapper around it which can help us, because this particular line will be able to extract a authorization header from the request, and it will give us there. You don't need to write request.headers.authorization because this inbuilt module is doing it. So this is a simple NestJS code, and what I'm doing is auth controller. You can see I have auth login, validate user. It will just generate a token and it will return the token in the cookies. Now I want to show you how we can hit a protected API. So important code here is this JWT Auth guard. What it is doing. If you are using provider config, let's say you are using Auth0, Firebase, etc., then how we validate the token is different. We get the token from the bearer. Then we will use the secret or a key provider, because here it can be Firebase, Auth0, Cognito, or anything. Here we are providing a JWKS URI. So this is how it will work. Otherwise, we will go with our fallback, very basic. Okay, we just provide our own secret. We get the token from the authorization header. Very simple. This can be your auth guard, JWT strategy, which will be used by JWT Auth guard, and rest all will be the same. So this JWT Auth guard is using JWT strategy internally, and it is applying for all the API routes which are protected, which are not public. All these things guards are getting applied, and there can be handled errors like unauthorized exception, token invalid exceptions if you are passing invalid token. So this is a simple demo which explains how you can use token based authentication internally, like you are building your own, or externally when you are integrating with Auth0, Firebase, and Cognito. How can you protect your NestJS APIs when the token is coming from the third party? I used to write a custom middleware, but this is the nice and the clean way of validating the token. I really like it. This is the NestJS passport already support this thing. Otherwise, you can write a middleware, go to that JWKS URI manually, get the keys, and do all those things manually in the middleware. Or you can just use this utility and get everything done. So that's all I wanted to cover about token-based authentications and how we can deal with the external providers in the NestJS.